It's a good day for reading and heading down to the farm. Hello and welcome to Checked Out. We're broadcasting from Euclid Public Library in beautiful Euclid, Ohio. I'm Jean Robinson, multimedia and communication specialist, and I'm flying solo today without my co-host, Mike Stein. We talk about our favorite books, movies, services, and events with our favorite people in our favorite community. Each podcast features a theme. Today we're talking about Farmville, not the popular game, but the real Farmville in the heart of downtown Cleveland. Our special guests are Mike Campo, General Manager for Huntington Convention Center of Cleveland, and Jude Fiedalum, General Manager of Levy Convention Center. Welcome to the podcast, gentlemen.
Thank you so much, Jean.
Thank you, Jean. It's a pleasure to be here.
A few years ago, I attended a conference at the Huntington Convention Center, Cleveland, and I was enjoying a snack and during the break, and I was totally surprised to look out the window and see animals grazing below. What sparked the idea to build a 19,000 square foot farm right in the middle of downtown?
Interestingly enough, I want to say it was 2014, maybe 2015. Our food and beverage partners, Levy Restaurants, came to us with this. We found out after the fact what they thought was a crazy idea to pitch us on putting in a 19,000 square foot urban farm on the far north end of our property. We learned again after the fact that they were like, there's no way these guys are going to go for this. So they pitched us the idea. We sat back, thought about it, and you said, you know what? That's a great idea. We think it's really going to resonate with today's meeting planner, which turned out to be very true. And we thought it was a home run. And there was complete buy-in from the Levy team. And, you know, as we sit here today, it continues to be a part of our fabric.
What was the biggest challenge in transforming that area into a farm?
With the farm, Jean, as you had commented, you kind of looked out from above your event space. And as you see, you have a long way to go downstairs, and there's some elevators that get there. But just the transportation of sheer raw materials down to the area that was really, truly just a 19,000 square foot vacant lot of land, that trying to connect those dots and get everything down the stairs up to and including a tractor, just for the appeal and the motif and the look of it, that tractor had to be wheeled down the steps by manpower purely to get it down there, which, you know, that offers some challenges when you're looking to put together a farm in a downtown lot.
Oh, yeah. That's amazing. And you managed to get it down there without any problems.
I can't tell you for sure if there wasn't any challenges, Jean, but, you know, I know it's down there and it still looks good today. Mike, I don't know if there's anything that you recall. I've been with the convention center now for 3 years with Levy. Mike's been here for almost over 13. Is that right, Mike?
Yeah. And so I will tell you that it was challenging because it didn't fit in the elevators that actually lead down to that level. So we had to employ some feats of engineering and some ropes and kind of gradually kind of bring it down the steps that are there. So it was touch and go for a little bit, but we got it done.
And it's just for show. You don't actually use the tractor.
It is just for show. We haven't started it up in a long time. Maybe on the 15th anniversary, Jude, we'll try to start it back up again.
We'll try to crank it, right? As the renovation's been taking place, one of the landscapers did try to spin it, and it does spin free. So who knows?
Okay.
Stranger things have happened.
Now, for those who haven't seen the farm, how can they get a glimpse of it?
Well, Gene, there's a couple ways. I'll let Mike answer the first one because it was his idea, and I think it's fabulous.
So from inside, so for our guests that are, you know, inside, whether attending an event or here for some other business reason, we actually have a urban farm ledge that we created, I want to say about 5 or 6 years ago at this point. And so it really allows our guests to conduct business, to set up their laptops and look out over the farm. And so it's been hugely popular, and guests love it. Kind of keeps them entertained as they try and stay connected back to their home offices while they're attending a conference here.
Gene, the second part of that is if you're overlooking the what we call the mall space or the green spaces that are actually on top of the Huntington Convention Center, you can get a peek down and you can see into the actual strip of land called Farmville. And many times it's been shared with me from clients, local residents, people that attend our Starbucks or Bagel Boulevard that on their lunch break, just to kind of decompress from the noise of downtown, they would like to look over that ledge and just see the flowers, see the animals, see the chickens, and just get it like a breath of country air in the middle of a downtown urban environment.
Now, speaking of some of the noises, there's a train that goes by and of course, other city noises. How do you keep the animals happy in that urban environment?
Well, I can tell you, it's a challenge, right? Right now, we currently have bees that are down there. We have a bee apiary, so we have 7 active hives. We have a certified beekeeper, our executive pastry sous chef, Sarah Keplinger. And prior to this podcast today, she was down there fully suited up because the bees were angry today. And, part of that is we're doing renovation, we're leveling the ground, and the trains that come by, sometimes it affects the animals differently. And you never know what's going to happen on Farmville. So I don't believe it's something that I think with anything with time, it becomes less disruptive. But for the most part, it never really seemed to be that much of a problem when we were fully populated with animals.
So, how do you handle the harsh Cleveland winters?
I mean, hey, listen, animals are obviously used to living outside. And over the years, we had the various animals down on the farm. We did our best to winterize their living spaces, if you will, and keep them as happy as possible. I'm not sure if Jude could add some more context to the bees, because I think what bees do in the winter is fascinating with how they kind of huddle together, for lack of a better term, to survive the winter. To me, that's fascinating, but I'm not sure, Jude, if you want to add anything more.
Yeah, unfortunately, so with the beehives, with our strip of land and the square footage, we're allowed to have up to 7. We'll typically start with 6, then one hive will migrate over the course of the season and become the 7th hive. We haven't had anything additional to that. There's been winter where all 7 hives will survive because we winterize them and it's not that cold. Like Mike said, the bees do huddle. It's fascinating when you learn more about these little animals. But unfortunately, like this past winter, just the harsh reality is we lost 6 of the 7 hives. One did survive and thrive, but just with the cold snaps towards the end of season, they just didn't make it. And they are designed to pull through, but unfortunately, it just gets too cold sometimes.
Yes, it was an unusual winter. So that's understandable. But you say they huddle? How do bees, what is it they do in the winter?
We should have had Chef Sarah, our resident beekeeper, who took a 100-hour certified course, probably on the call to talk more about that. But that's the way it was best described to me, Gene. I'm not exactly sure what that looks or sounds like, but it's a huddling process for them. Then they use their natural body heat to keep warm throughout the winter.
Oh, that sounds kind of cute.
They're fascinating animals.
We might have to get a beekeeper on to talk about bees in the future. So, what does a typical day look like for the farmers in Farmville?
Well, I can tell you, Gina, I don't really think there is a typical day, right? When you have an urban farm and it's been more active than other times. When it was full go, it could look like a beehive swarmed. And what that means is the bees would get angry and they'd go into a tree and the beekeeper would have to use the smoke to knock them back down and get into the hive. That could be one thing you could walk into. You can walk into the pig pen that maybe the latch got loose and the pigs are roaming free amongst the farm. There could be predators on the farm. we have possums, we have raccoons, so those things you could walk into immediately. So I don't know if there's a typical day on the farm. If it's a slow day, you're pruning, attending to the plantings, maybe doing some composting, cleaning up the areas, cleaning up after the animals, making sure that the animals are all fed in a timely manner, and that there's always something. There was always something to do. Let's put it that way. It was never a dull moment. That's why when you say typical day, I think it's like the question is more like, are all days typical on the farm? And they're atypical.
How many animals are there?
Well, currently there are no animals on the farm. We just have bees. We're kind of in
Okay.
a renovation process because we wanted to beautify the space and make it more sustainable so we can talk about our food story.
Mhm.
Where the pigs were and the goats were, we're now setting up an apple orchard. We feel like that best intertwines with our food story and our menu and can also offer better maintenance and a better look as appeal. We plan on bringing chickens back next season, but this new rendition of the farm really highlights the bees and the plantings that the chef will be putting forward this coming year.
What crops are you planting, or are you planting the crops right now, or just focusing on the new orchard?
The crops will be put in next season. Things like spices like rosemary, marjoram. There'll be basil, mint, multitude of different spices, and we find that those can translate into some of our dishes as well as cocktail garnishes. And then also things like eggplant, pumpkin, and corn.
I'm sure that convention visitors appreciate having fresh farm to table meals. How do you decide what to plant, and how do you work that out with the menus?
Well, I think that's one of the misconceptions of the farm, Gene, is that it's really more of a showpiece of what's possible in a downtown urban environment. But typically, most of our menus or chef tables are designed to feed hundreds of people. We'll do a 900 person plated dinner. So for the scalability of Farmville, it would never be able to actually keep up with that volume. However, it does show that we can grow vegetables. We use it with site visits where people can see actually vegetables being pulled from the ground, pulled from the earth, and a lot of times people have not seen this before. So it's more of what's possible, and there are times where again the spices and herbs are utilized throughout the menu. One of the hits is we call it our Farmville lemonade, and it's our own classic house recipe that intertwines the honey that's made from the bees into a very popular beverage that's used on breakouts in our facility.
It must be exciting to bring a little bit of the farm to downtown because, like you say, not everyone has the opportunity to go out to the country and see, where our food comes from.
Very true. And when you actually get your hands on it, you can get your hands on earth and you see it, it's almost like the winemaking process and thinking about, how wine is made and how grapes are picked and how they're pressed. And a lot of times the end result is wine in a bottle, but you're not imagining that in the beginning it's farmers farming grapes. So for us, it's more of a showpiece to help connect the dots for our clients and downtown residents.
We're talking about Cleveland's downtown urban farm called the Real Farmville with Mark Campo, General Manager for Huntington Convention Center of Cleveland, and Jude Fiedelum, General Manager of Levy Convention Center. What makes you the most proud of the Real Farmville?
Mike, have anything? I know that the farm's been around longer than I have, and it's definitely something that's kept going.
Yeah, Gene, I would say, you know, it's it's part of our story, right? We have such a great sustainability story here at the convention center. Many people don't know we were designed as LEED Gold, which is an industry standard benchmark, which we're very proud of. But what we're more proud of is how we operate. We are also certified as LEED Gold. So that's a tremendous accomplishment for our team. And quite frankly, this urban farm, the Real Farmville, sits within that, right? It is part of the narrative, it is part of the story. And for me, oftentimes people view Cleveland who have never been here before, that it's an industrial town, used to dominate the steel industry for years and years. And they might not necessarily think of all the wonderful environmental, benefits and tremendous outdoor opportunities and just wildlife and everything that exists here, right? And so it really helps to change and shape the narrative and change people's perceptions, quite frankly, of Cleveland. And when they get here, they are blown away by the offerings on the farm. And it really resonates. And, I would say that's probably what we're most proud of, is just being able to really potentially change that perception, right, of our wonderful city, Cleveland.
Being a LEED Gold certified facility is very impressive. Tell us more about some of the sustainability goals that you have reached.
So again, it's a rigorous certification process. You have to go through every 3 years. Many people may or may not know that, the malls here, we have a green roof. So we have over almost 6 acres of green roof that really acts as a sponge, right? And so every time it rains, which happens occasionally in Cleveland, it acts as a sponge and it soaks all that rainwater up, and it helps it from not getting into the sewage or sewer systems, and eventually down into the lake and things like that. So we're very proud of that. We have water bottle refillers all throughout our campus. We have something called Grind to Energy. And so Jude and his team on the food and beverage side, any uneaten and food scraps that, in the past would have ended up in a landfill, now they go to this Grind to Energy system that grinds it up, turns it into a slurry. It's transported off-site. The methane is extracted, and it's transformed into natural gas, electricity, and also fertilizer. And so we get reports out on that every year that tells us, hey, we're able to heat, 30 to 40 houses throughout the year. And so it's some of those things that really tie in and really make, help us get to that LEED Gold certification.
Do you feel like this is going to be a trend in Cleveland, that other companies downtown and in the greater Cleveland area will strive for that LEED Gold certificate?
I hope so. We're also a member of, the Cleveland Downtown District 2030, which is just a pledge of all local downtown corporations and businesses to cut their carbon footprint in half by the year 2030. So we're a member and a part of that. And so to answer your question, absolutely. I mean, if it's good for the environment, I would fully support that.
I love the idea of Cleveland leading the country with environmental solutions.
Well, it's interesting you say that, Gene. Mike would probably expand on this as well, but we recently had an event here that was unprecedented in partnership with Green Sports Alliance. And the whole goal was to be a zero waste event. And when it was first presented to us, we're like, wow, how are we going to execute this? And truly, it took a tremendous amount of partnership from extra vendors involved. But ultimately, for a convention center, we were able to produce a 99.2 waste diversion event, which people thought was impossible. And that just speaks volumes to what we're capable of if people really care and people try. But one of the things that comments were made early on, because it took several calls to pull this event together, was how far we were ahead of the game in Cleveland already. They were very surprised that we had things in place, like Mike mentioned, the Grind to Energy, that we had the ability to compost and recycle. We had these bins ready to go. And it was just by modifying our menus with our executive chef, Michael Laura, and using hamburgers that were not all beef, but 30% mushroom, 70% beef. Just that omission of 30% beef helps take down the carbon footprint significantly if you look at it in a mass volume across the United States. So just tweaks like that, we were already told we were ahead, and that was nice to hear.
Jude, what was the one item that they were not able to figure out a way to recite to?
So the one item was trash can liners. So out of everything that we wasted, it was the trash can liners themselves. So, as we huddled at the end of the event, next year they will provide a compostable trash can liner, or if not, say the next year, or if the show comes back this way, so that we can truly achieve that 100% waste free. Again, it takes all parties. It takes people that are interested in wanting to do this in order to make it possible.
That's great, Jude. Thanks for bringing that up. And just to add on to that, Gene, as well, we really work with all of our promoters, right, that come throughout the year. And we work so hard to find what I say is a different home for some of the waste that comes in. As you can imagine, we've got, about 500,000 or so visitors that come through our doors every year. We've got thousands and thousands of exhibitors that ship all of their goods and products for display into our building. They set up shop to exhibit for 2, 3, maybe 4 days. And then oftentimes they don't want to ship their products back to where they came from, right? And there is some waste there. And so what we do is we work so hard to partner with local nonprofits, and we try to find a home for many of those materials, whether it's carpet, drape, sometimes furniture and other equipment. We try to find a home for it. And, while we're not 100% successful, I'm pretty proud of the job that we've been doing. So
that's a great idea.
Reuse whenever possible and donate. Truly, we'll have shows, and I've been in this business almost close to 30 years now. And when we were setting up large buffets at some grand hotels, nobody was really interested in what happened to the food afterwards. And as a younger food and beverage manager, I'd watch pounds and pounds of food just be thrown in the trash can. And there were people out there that could use that food. And one of the missions here at the Huntington Convention Center, in conjunction with Legends and Levy, is making sure that food that is non-guest facing, if there is extra food produced, is donated. And we have several donation outlets that are very receptive and will come right over and pick up the food, because there's a lot of hungry people. And more event planners and people that are looking at hosting shows at the Huntington Convention Center are asking, what do you do with the food? And we're happy and we're very proud to tell them what we do with the food. And the recipients are also very gracious that we're able to provide that.
Wow, that's wonderful. It's great to hear these stories, and hopefully it will inspire other Cleveland businesses as well. Is there anything else you would like us to know about what's happening there?
Well, Gene, I will tell you, when you talked about what are we most proudest of the farm, I think Mike spoke to it in a great level. But what is produced, I think the proudest thing is our honey. It's probably one of the tastiest honeys you're going to find in the downtown area. It's a natural raw honey. We produce about 100 pounds a year. And with the pollinators that we have, it has a very floral flavor profile. So we use this honey and we jar it up and we give it to our clients. We give it to our guests. We also make lip balm from it. And the comments that we get are like people want more. Like, that's some of the best honey I've ever tasted. It goes great in tea, or you can put it in a hot toddy, depending upon what time of day it is. But it is a very proud offshoot of what we do.
And you can only get it at the convention center?
That's it. That's our honey. It's produced there.
And if anyone wants to take a peek at the farm, now they know where to go. And if you're in the convention center, keep an eye out for the honey.
That's right. We have an on-site bagel boulevard, which makes the best bagels in town. And we've also got a Starbucks on site. So feel free to come on by and try some of our food and beverage offerings.
If you're interested in a bagel schmear, the honeybee is actually incorporated with our honey from the farm into the schmear. So the cream cheese version with honey and almond is absolutely delicious. So you can get a little taste of Farmville anytime.
Well, thank you so much for being our guest and on the podcast today. This is so fascinating, not only about the farm, but also about what's being done to help our environment, which needs all the help it can get right now.
Our pleasure, Gene. Very welcome. You've been a gracious host.
Now it's time for the library news you cannot use.
We all know plenty about Spider-Man, especially with his brand new movie tearing up the box office right now. And we all remember the Tiger King craze from back during the pandemic. But have you ever heard of the Spider King? That was the nickname of King Louis VI, who ruled France in the late 1400s. He earned the title because he wove a massive, ruthless web of political intrigue, espionage, and secret alliances. Now, if you want to read up on his spy networks, we have plenty of history books right here at Euclid Public Library. But if you're up for a road trip, you might want to head to the University of Toronto. Researchers at their Old Books New Science Lab just uncovered an actual piece of a letter written by the Spider King himself. It was hidden inside the binding of an old book at Massey College Library. A man named Will Reuter had originally brought the book from a street stall in Amsterdam, completely unaware that a 500-year-old royal decree was trapped inside the cover. Talk about a library treasure hunt. Speaking of treasures, Debbie McCurry found something unexpected in a book she grabbed from a little free library in Havertown, Pennsylvania. There were 2 vintage love letters tucked inside. They were addressed from someone named Stumps to a Mrs. Chancharulo. Debbie posted the photos of the romantic notes on Facebook, hoping the internet could work its magic. Sure enough, a woman named Jennifer Chancharulo saw the post and recognized the handwriting. They were letters her husband Dan had written to her before they were married. The letters had been accidentally left inside a book they donated. Of course, the letters were safely returned to the happy couple. So the next time you borrow a book from the little free library around Euclid, check the pages. And if you ever find a mystery letter or antique notes from royalty, bring it to us here at EPL. We love a good detective story. Thanks for listening to Checked Out. You can learn more about Euclid Public Library by stopping by or going to our website, euclidlibrary.org.